Hi, I'm Michael Gross, host of the B&O Railroad Museum television network. This is the recently restored B&O locomotive number 545, the A.J. Cromwell, the only B&O Consolidation locomotive in existence today. Alexander Mitchell designed the first Consolidation 280 freight locomotive for the Lehigh Valley Railroad in 1866. From 1866 to 1916, they were built in large numbers across the nation, and by the turn of the century, heavy consolidations were universal on almost every railroad. The Baltimore and Ohio Railroad adopted its first engine of this type in 1873. By 1885, the B&O had 180 in service. Many of these late Victorian workhorses continued to work into the 1920s despite more modern designs. The 545 and engines similar to it represented the maximum financial return on a locomotive of the time period. Preserved and now fully restored at the B&O Railroad Museum, it is the only B&O Consolidation locomotive in existence. Built in 1888 at the B&O's Montclair shops, the number 545 A.J. Cromwell is a fine example of the no-frills workhorse intended to replace slow and outdated freight engines such as the distinctive camel locomotives. The 545 and engines similar to it were the backbone of late 19th century rail service because they were heavier, more powerful, and extremely utilitarian. The B&O Railroad used the 545 and locomotives like it for hauling coal trains and as its universal freight engine. They continued to purchase and build consolidations until 1910, when the 282 Mikados and Mallets began relegating the consolidation-type engines to secondary service. The 545 served well into the 1920s until it was retired and preserved by the B&O in 1926 for the railroad's 100th anniversary celebration known as the Fair of the Iron Horse. During the fair, the 545 was renamed A.J. Cromwell in honor of Andrew J. Cromwell, the B&O Superintendent of Motor Power, when the locomotive was built. Following the Fair of the Iron Horse, the engine remained in storage in the Hall of Transportation located on the fair site in Halethorpe, Maryland. In August 1935, a major storm caused the roof of the building to collapse, marking the first time but not the last it would be involved in a roof collapse. It was repaired and removed to storage to Bailey's Roundhouse near the present-day Ravens football stadium in Baltimore, and eventually placed on display at the B&O Railroad Museum in the early 1950s. It is the oldest locomotive in the collection that has air brakes. As with many of the historic engines in the museum's collection, the 545 remained as an operational public relations engine well into retirement. In 1955, the locomotive was featured in the film The Swan, starring Sir Alec Guinness and featuring Grace Kelly. This was Grace Kelly's last film prior to her retirement to become the Princess of Monaco. The locomotive received several removable modifications to give it a European appearance. It remained on display in the historic Roundhouse and was damaged once again in the Roundhouse roof collapse during the President's Day snowstorm of February 2003. The decision was made to return the locomotive to its 1926 configuration for the Fair of the Iron Horse, however, prior to the application of A.J. Cromwell to the side of the locomotive. The museum's expert restoration staff used paint sampling, early photographs, and archival discoveries made during the project to select its final appearance. This appearance allows the museum to interpret a unique period of railroading history that coincides with the locomotive's introduction at the end of the 19th century, when railroads introduced powerful engines that were both practical and utilitarian in nature. I'm Michael Gross. Thanks for watching the B&O Railroad Museum television network.
Interested in learning more about the B&O Railroad Museum in Ellicott City Station? Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. With daily updates on upcoming events, coupons, photographs, history, and things to do in Baltimore, you'll never be off track.